it seems like hello everyone, and hello to Michael from Pasadena. Just wondering, how is the I-210 at the moment? And it looks like I have been talking and talking and talking with no one hearing. First off, again, I just want to say that the reason for the lack of live streams with live commentary the past 3-4 weeks has been crazy amount of work, and that I actually was able to cram this stream between 2 work sessions in Flom. And there was a question here about the green livery on one of the cars that came from Wenlock, and I just want to comment on that. That is the new design that is going to be moved on to all cars on the Bergen line, as well as all rolling stock that is operated by V in Norway. So I think we now have 3 repainted flirts, and there is a sleeper car coming over at some point, which has also changed livery. And I'm quite excited to see how the locomotive is actually going to look like when that is done. Because if it's going to look remotely like they have done in Transport Fever 2, I think it's gonna look pretty awesome. Bronze Army, I'm not sure you can handle seeing my face. Thing is that people were kind of scared when we never saw Bane without his mask, so me in front of the camera could be maybe the same effect. No, just kidding. I'm actually considering doing something now that channel has passed 100,000 subscribers. Guess you'll just have to wait and see. Caleb, the reason that I like the L18 so incredibly much is because it's the only locomotive V has, and that driving a locomotive is very different from driving a standard EMU. You have to kind of think differently and plan your driving differently, and it's kind of more of a challenge to make it go really smooth and really comfortable. So yeah, it's more of the finesse. It's more sensitive on inputs, and yeah, it's just more challenging basically, and I think that's just heaps of fun. Thank you so much for the super chat, Troy boy. Hey there, Anshaman. Hey there, Arthur. I am doing good. Yeah, Texas, that's how we roll. Mike, these are phase motors. We don't have transmissions on these engines. The way we control the speed on these engines and power is to change the frequency they actually are running on. Dev JB, it happens sometime, really seldom that people actually go into the tunnel, and if they do, they usually really high on drugs or just completely wasted on alcohol. Though, yeah, besides that, you have some people with mental issues that also ventures into tunnels to get away from the police and stuff like that. But besides that, we never see people in there. Ingunn? Nei, ikke akkurat nå, men jeg skal tilbake til Aurland i morgen. Thank you, David. Thank you so much for the soup chat, Jan. Naomi, I think they are going to open in January or the end of this year. They are starting to prepare to connect and basically dismantle the whole station in November. So I'm not sure, but I think there will be a couple of months where there will be no trains running between Dale and Bergen. And after that, we will probably be running through the new tunnel. Thank you so much for the super chat, Kubi. Arthur, that actually depends on how far you are traveling. R. Jones? No. These trains are not running slower. If it looks slower, it is because of the angle or the width of the lens I'm using on this. The GoPro has a really wide lens, so it's actually able to catch more on the peripherals on the sides, and that's where it actually looks the fastest, and that's why GoPro footage makes it look like the train is running really fast. The lens I'm using here is a 35mm, and it's more a true to eye view of what we actually see in front of us. So if you think the curvature just outside the tunnel here is kind of sharp, it's really that what it really looks like. And we at the moment are traveling at 80 kilometers per hour. Yeah, so this is how it really looks for us who is sitting there and driving, and it has the same kind of field of view that we have sitting there. So this is a lot more realistic, and it looks more realistic when it comes to the speed and stuff like that, even though it looks a lot slower on screen compared to real life, because our eyes are also able to catch more on the peripherals. But yeah, I probably get the point. Thank you so much for the soup, Chilarola. Thank you so much for the super sticker, Gadu. If I like Norway? Yeah, since I'm born here and lived here my whole life, I must say that I feel blessed being compared to a lot of other countries. I'm really glad I was born here. Yeah, it's a really good country. Hey there, Susan. I'm really glad this is actually helping you to get through the situation we are in the world right now. Uh, yeah, a little note on that. Here in Norway, we have almost returned back to normal. There was kind of a second wave here for the past 3 weeks. But that is now under control again, and they have halted the opening of the country at the moment from where we are right now. But for people who are going about their daily lives, it's turned into something like a new normal, and basically things are running like before, just kind of slower and with a bit fewer people and less capacity. But yeah, people are going back to work and things are kind of normal. Mike Davis, to be quite honest, not much has changed since the 80s on the Bergen line. We got some new tunnels, and the biggest changes has basically been around Oslo, especially the stretches on the intercity part and through the West Corridor. Yeah, a lot of new high-speed tracks around there, or well, yeah, defined as high-speed tracks here in Norway, which means 210 and 250 kilometers per hour. Arthur, this job is basically much like any other job. If you have the proper training, it's kind of easy to do. But the training covers also the part when things does not go according to plan, and that's when things kind of get sketchy. So it totally depends on what kind of situation you're in. But yeah, it's almost like flying a plane. It goes on rail. We don't have autopilot, but we do have a cruise control, so we can just tell the train to maintain a certain speed. But then again, we have to make sure that we reduce the speed when we are supposed to. Runs Army, Indian railways are kind of crazy, to be honest. When when we see all the people hanging on for their lives on the outside, sitting on the roof, and absolutely everywhere. That's kind of like nothing like that would ever happen in this country or be allowed to happen in this country. So yes, I am quite fascinated by Indian railways. Uh, There was a question here about CPR. We do have training with CPR, so it's every third year we undergo kind of a simulated training, and in kind of like a real case scenario, and we do CPR during those exercises, and that's also when we train on fires, diverse illnesses in a train, and yeah, everything that we are supposed to know and have done and refreshed of everything that could happen, and that also includes evacuation in tunnels and stuff like that. Peter Rabbit, those overhead lines you see, those wires, that is actually the power. So this is an electric train. Dev, this is your conscience talking, and we haven't spoken for a while. How are you? Mr. Yuki Sergeant? Yes. Kind of had a situation this winter when the train was hit by an avalanche, and a lot of the training just came blowing out naturally, and it was really strange because I didn't think of doing the things I did, but it was just like bam bam bam, we did this and this, and everything went well. Caleb, I have been to the States, and I have seen one of those trains with over 100 cars, and I have to admit, those are pretty awesome. Millen Benjamin, if I was afraid of tunnels, this job would not be really good for me. And things like that is something we are tested for before we prove to go to the Rail Academy. We do undergo a psych val, and they kind of have to check if you have any dispositions for anxiety and stuff like that when it comes to tunnels, or if you are nervous about what's around the corner and stuff like that, then this is not the job for you. You really have to trust that the rail is there when you come out of a tunnel, even though you can't see it. So that was actually one of the questions I was asked during the interview. It was like, yeah, what would you do if you came around the corner and you saw the truck was gone? And I went like, what? Is that even possible? So it's not supposed to be gone. And that's the whole thing. This is not something you should be sitting there and think about while you are operating the train. Yeah, that would just turn you crazy. Thank you so much for the super sticker, Susan. Life Howl, the Finse tunnel is on this line here, the longest tunnel. And if I'm not totally mistaken, it's 10,300 meters long. I missed by some meters. Oh dear. Thank you, Paul. How are you? My Corey, why did that song just pop up into my head? Yeah, you know which song. Texas, we would welcome you. Rampage, yes, that has happened on several occasions. Thank you for the super sticker, Gudu. And it was during this winter. We had 3 power outages when we were going from Bergen to Hull, and those outages was a result of several avalanches coming down at several places and kind of took out the power. Yeah, that's right. It was the Flum line that was hit by a really huge avalanche, and that made the power source disconnect the power. So it does that for 3 times. It will disconnect the power once, and then it will wait for a moment, then try to reconnect the power. And if it fails again, it will cut the power and wait a bit more, and then try to reconnect. And the 3rd time, it will be permanently out, and they have to manually remotely try to re-engage the power. And that happened to us as we were going through the Finse tunnel. And we knew something was up, and we do have procedures for situations like that. So we just went into the tunnel, coasted slowly, and then grinded to a halt and secured the train. And we just waited until the power came back. We waited for I think it was a total of 15 minutes the power was gone, but eventually came back and everything was normal service resumed. No, me, Garza? Yeah, some working errors too does happen. We all remember the chainsaw incident. Thank you, Susan. Dorshori, I'm not sure where you did see those houses, but most of the houses you see here along the line is actually occupied by people. So people live there. But when it comes to the housing that you see way up in the mountains, when we are starting to go into the mountain pass, those houses are mostly used as cabins, and that's used kind of all year long, but those are not permanent residents. Pre-tax, we did that as kids by putting like pennies on the track and see the trains run over them and go back and pick them up, and they were double in size. Bonjour, Blackbird. Thank you so much for the super sticker, Susan. Yes, I do have a huge passion for skydiving and also ride a motorcycle. So, say that would be kind of my hobbies, especially the skydiving part, which is a huge part of my life. Brian, I have been having trains for over 10 years. Lloyd, that is correct. We have battery packages on all the carriages and on the locomotive as well. So if the power goes out, we will have power for emergency lighting and stuff like that, but there won't be any heat or other things, but except for the necessities of communications systems and lights. That's basically it. Lars, the craziest, wildest thing I have seen along the line was... There's actually two things. One is that I almost hit a llama once. Yeah, you heard right, a llama. And the second craziest, which is not like crazy like in fun, but crazy like in extremely dangerous, and that was for guys or in their youth, probably in their early 20s, who played chicken with the train. So there were 4 guys on the track, and the 5th one was filming, and they dared each other to see who dared to stay the longest. And I was pretty sure that I had hit one of them when the train finally grinded to a halt. We were standing in the middle of the track just after a curve, so it was impossible to see them before they were actually standing there right in front of me. And yeah, that was kind of crazy and scary, and that was really scary. And that is something I don't want to experience, but it is something that every train driver has to prepare for, that there can be a day, or not if there will be a day, but you prepare for the day it actually happens, and that's the day when someone does something stupid and find themselves the tracks. Peter Rabbit, no, I have not. I have to admit this. I have not seen Snowpiercer yet. I should have seen it, and I know there's a series on Netflix now that is actually also called Snowpiercer. So, yeah, if I have time, if I have time, that's the thing, time. In the future, I will definitely watch it. Dark Shore, each season has their uniqueness, but to like the winter the most, and that's basically just because the mountain pass during the winter looks like a completely different planet, and you see more, not so much leaves and shrubs in a way. That's basically it. Winnieman, the police were looking for them, but I'm not sure if they were arrested. But the company pressed charges, and so if they did find them, they would probably have some and with the law. Thank you, mascot. Mike Davis, the body of water you see to the left is not a river, and it's not a lake, it's actually a fjord. So it is seawater. Pietron, yep. During some weather conditions, it's definitely exactly like being on the icy planet Hoth. Jason, yes, King's Cross or St. Pancras, isn't that the new name for King's Cross? Why did they change the name? Except for that, beautiful station. And yes, now I also remember, I have also been to Waterloo. Mr. UK Sergeant, did you put that rock on the track and get, yeah, like hit by the rock you put on the track? Hey there, Stephanie. Just try to see if Killing Eve was available on the Norwegian Netflix, and no, it's not. And that kind of sucks. Are you okay, Sergeant? That really sucks. That really sucks, and it's really dangerous. Yes, Lars Gunnar. It depends on how he got to where he is. If he most presumably walked along the track, he is trespassing. But I do suspect that he was kind of walking along the... I think there's a pipe going there on to the right. So I'm not sure. If he walked on a track, it could be the guy who had the red car. So, yeah, who knows? He could have walked along the fields and then just waded over and... not sure. Hey there, Oddwork. Hey there, Steven. Pro 256, it depends on what country you're from. So, what country do you come from? And yeah, maybe there are something I could give you some advice on. Mr. UK Sergeant, you were lucky. Rampage, Lucifer, oh my god, I love the series. I really love it, and I have just finished season 5 or season 5 part 1, and I can't wait for the next one, next half. It's like, oh my god, come on, give it to me already. Leo, yes, we are now past the fjord, so yeah, something like kind of sidetrack. When it comes to Netflix, I'm not sure if you guys have seen the series called The Rain. It's a Danish series, but there are several scenes that was filmed here at Dale, and another scene or a couple of scenes that was filmed at Voss. So most parts of it's, I think it's season 3, yeah, season 3 was filmed here in Norway and in this area. So it was kind of funny watching that on Netflix and see that, oh yeah, she jumped into the river there and then she came out down there, okay. That's kind of impossible, but okay, it looked cool, and yeah, it was cool. Thank you so much for the super chat, Eden. Ivy? Yes, this is a passenger train. This is the evening express from Bergen to Oslo. So we do not stop between Arna and Voss. And from Voss we go to Myrdal, which will be the next stop, because of picking up passengers from the Flom line. And then after that, the next stop will be Finse, Ustaoset, Geilo, and then Ål. And that's where the crew change is. Texas chick, that elderly gentleman was maybe not totally off, even though your country or your state do have the means and possibility to do what we do here, but I don't think that would be accepted by the mainstream politicians over at your place. Ascot 1063. Usually I do, I think it's the past 3 or 4 months, I have been doing this after releasing a new video, so that people who had any questions or wanted to something could do it, and this was a really good kind of gather everyone and able to talk to you directly, and I think it's awesome. Thank you so much for the super chat, Troy boy. David, I had my vacation was in March. I was supposed to stay in Florida for 6 weeks. Kind of a 3-part vacation where I would train for 2 weeks, then be a coach for 2 weeks, and then have a legit vacation for 2 weeks. But that ended up being locked down for 4 weeks before we were able to get back to Norway. So yeah, I'd say that I have not had a real vacation this year yet, and it will probably not happen either. Been cool. This train goes all the way from Bergen to Oslo, and we do have a driver change at all, which is halfway. And when I get to all, there is a driver from Oslo who takes over and drive it back to Oslo. Texas? Yep, I would almost force you to the drop zone. Crow, if you want to work here in Norway, you have to have a residency, and you have to be fairly fluent in Norwegian because that's the language we use here on railroad. And yeah, you definitely need citizenship to start at the academy. But why not start to work for Sea and Rail? Yeah, they do awesome routes. Brian, yeah, as safe as essential can be. It's been kind of strange going to work, and with all the disinfection regimens and procedures and changes, and absolutely everything has been kind of crazy. It's not always, we're not felt safe all the time, but for us who are drivers, we're kind of like separated from the passengers, so it's easier for us. But yeah, it's been weird. Thank you so much for the super sticker, Gadu. Nightflower, we see just as much as you see on the camera. Yeah, been able to find a camera that is able to catch as much as we can see in the tunnels. But as cameras, they don't to be able to do the transitions from light to dark and dark to light very realistically compared to our eyes, so we see more than the camera does. Thank you, Rampage. Naomi Garza, you're hired. Pro 256, if you are to choose between a trucker and a rail worker, I would definitely opt for rail. Mike Davis, you pack my own chute, and I do also let the packers do it depending on A, how lazy I am, or on what kind of call I am on. So if I'm short calls, I let the packers do it just to be able to brief the students and people I'm jumping with. What kind of cat? Right now, I am jumping NSA Aerosports JFX, which I find incredibly awesome. And yeah, kind of hoping to be jumping say Aerosports Leia in the future. Thank you so much for the super chat, Aardvark. Hey guys, for everyone watching, if you like this stream and you like the commentary, please do hit that like button, and if you haven't, please subscribe to the channel. It would be awesome. Thank you. Andrew, Norway and Canada, like climate-wise, is not that different. If you take a globe and you follow the longitude that Norway is on, you will actually hit Alaska. So yeah, we are pretty close. Roy boy, getting there, getting there. Guitar Wolf? Yes, most houses here in Norway has TV. Pro, maybe it's time to become a subscriber then. That way you won't miss out on notifications on new content. Arthur, yeah, it depends on what kind of mood I'm in. Mostly I do listen to podcasts and music as well, but lately it has been a lot of podcasts. Paul O'Neill, no, I have not base jumped. Thank you, Crow. Been cool. It depends on what time of year you're talking about. It can be really cold here during the winter, but during the summers, during the good summers, we are temperature-wise, we are in the high 80s and 90s at some point. Arthur, are you referring to Evanger? Texas? Yeah, that was the flirt. David, yes, there is a new motorcycle 360 coming because I did record a video going through the Valley of the Gods, and I am going to do that trip again, and I'm going to see. I'm going to do an update on the 360 camera and probably maybe change the position of it to see if I can get it better. And I did get some tips on how to make the exposure a lot better with the 360. So I'm definitely going to look into that and make a new recording of the Valley of the Gods trip. Crow 256. If we have to sleep over in Oslo, the company books the hotel room for us. Anna Julie, this is not a fjord. This is a river. Mike Davis, I have not tried paragliding. I have kind of tried paragliding. Well, closest to paragliding is speed riding, so I was going to sign up for a course, but decided that, nah, I'm just gonna focus on skydiving. Paragliding will not be for me. The riverbanks are, of course, enforced with rocks where the track goes, so yeah, they can take a hit. Cool. Driving a train and flying a plane or operating a plane is kind of the same thing. Have a lot of buttons, but like in an airplane, you don't push all of them at the same time. So you just have to know what the buttons are for and when to use them, and then you basically just operate under normal circumstances, and yeah, things are just smooth sailing. John, yes, cargo trains also use these tracks, and this is the main freight corridor for freight going from Oslo and over to Bergen. Arthur, yes, I like snorkeling, and I would love to do scuba diving as well, but scuba diving and skydiving in the same day is not a good combination. Susan Schaffer, usually I have been doing these Q&As each week. But I haven't been able to do it for the past, I think it's almost 6 weeks, because of a crazy work schedule. Our employer has requested more flexibility in these strange times, so yeah, things has been kind of crazy. VPR, you say that trains are equals one-dimensional travel and cars equals two-dimensional travel. Why is a train just one-dimensional travel? Bloom, we do training in simulators as well, but we do it, yeah, every third year, where we have a whole day in the simulator and we do training for certain procedures that we are not going through very often. It basically may not happen at all. So one of the things are malicious intents towards a train or station or any other structure in conjunction with the railway, and like the basics, what you do if you have to get permission to pass a signal that doesn't show green and stuff like that. So yeah, we do a fair share of simulator as well. Luke Andrea, don't call me baby. Mustafa, I'm doing good. How are you? Hey there, Judith. How is New York City doing? Hey there, Patricia. Around Sarmi, the maximum speed of this train is 160 kilometers per hour, and that equals 100 miles per hour. See you later, George. Mike Davis, there are a lot of places you can climb here, but I am not into climbing. Thank you so much for the super sticker, Susan. Jerome, that is correct. When you see a triangle pointing up, it means that you can accelerate to the speed that shows. And it's a number of 10 system. So if you see 13, that means 130. And if you see 8, that means 80. If you see a triangle pointing down, that is a warning for reduced speed. And in decent break-in distance from that triangle pointing down, you will see on the left side of the track, usually, a small yellow triangle, which is usually mounted on the back side of the triangle pointing up in the opposite direction. And that, like this one we're passing right now, and that indicates where the reduced speed should be forced from. Caleb, yes, Sweden, but I have not been to Finland yet, and Denmark is a no-brainer, really. Osmar, the total length of the train is 253 meters. Thank you, me, Colin. Never been to India. Jerry can? Maybe I should take you flying in a wind tunnel. Thank you so much for the super chat, White Tiger. Patricia, if I could go anywhere, where would I travel? If I could go absolutely anywhere, I would actually like to see Mars. Hey there, CJ. Nothing's up, or basically everything's up. Sean Chang? No, we don't have that many level crossings here, but we do have a lot of kind of farmers crossings and stuff like that. Here in Norway, they try to remove level crossings to reduce the chance of car getting stuck between the gates, which can happen. Yeah. So there is actually a project going on for the infrastructure provider to remove all level crossings. Mike Davis, Smoky Mountains, East Tennessee. Spot Center, yeah, that would be absolutely a lot cheaper. Vomit Comet, Nightflower is that the gravity plane thingy? That would be actually pretty awesome. Chev, yes, they will be routed under or over with a bridge, but usually under. A Crow 256, my favorite game at the moment. I am waiting for, I'm really looking forward to Cyberpunk. That is highly anticipated. And what other games do I like? I like Transport Fever. It's kind of my go-to game if I need to kind of unwind. And if I just need to blast through things, I play My Friend Pedro, which is a completely hilariously insane game. And I have been playing a game called Detroit Become Human, which is really immersive and I really love it. So if you want to have a game or just play a game where your actions really count and your actions will definitely affect the ending of the game or other options you will have in the game, then I definitely really recommend the game called Detroit Become Human. For strategy transport, definitely Transport Fever. That is really cool. And if you want arcade platform type blast up everything game, then My Friend Pedro is highly recommended. It's completely absurd. I never played Fantasy Star Online. Thank you so much for the super chat, Nightflower. Mayor Colin, the houses you see here right now, those are permanent residents, and these are classical farms here on the west coast. Yeah, most of the people in this area kind of live in the rural area, and they produce grass, as you can see on the fields both right. And I think you can see it if you look up into the mountainside here to the right. Not sure if you can see it from the train in this direction. There's actually a farm like really high up, and people live there as well. And they are in these days they are building a new access road to that farm. Judith, we are traveling through the west coast of Norway going inland. So soon we've already started a climb up over the mountain pass. So from here on, the railway is just climbing and climbing and climbing. Thank you so much for the super chat, Gudu. And thank you so much for the super chat, Ashish. David, there are no sheeps on the track because sheeps are not stupid enough to go onto the track. Just kidding. The sheeps are not in this particular area, but on the mountaintop you see right in front of us right now, the sheeps and cows are up there grazing. They do take the sheep and cows up there. And there are cows in the area you see right in front of us here as well that grass here. And the farm that you saw down to the right does have kind of a local farm store. So if you need any poultry or meat or vegetables and stuff like that, you can actually go to these farms and purchase straight from the farmer. Which is a really good way to support the local farmer. Hey there, Rosemary. So Freak, we don't need to sound a horn in front of halts or platforms like that where the train does not stop. But we still have to sound a horn in front of level crossings. Oh, Arthur, my favorite movie? Oh, where to begin? There's, I do have a favorite movies. Right off the bat, The Martian, and so I have to say Interstellar, and Prometheus. It's they have in high regards, or any movie by Ridley Scott. Other movies, Oblivion, which is really good as well. And soundtrack to that movie, it's complete. Hey there, Knight Rider. So Freak, the verticals horn signals with vertical bars are for the halts or the platforms along the lines, and you don't need to sound a horn there unless the train does have a stop. Yogi Bear, I have been driving trains or been a train engineer for over 10 years. PlayStation 5? No, I don't think I'm going to invest in a PlayStation 5. I am more of a PC gamer. And even though both Xbox and PlayStation 5 and Nintendo Switch, they are amazing platforms, consoles have never kind of appealed to me. Don't know why, but I think it also what kind of games you get on those consoles. Like back in the days when it were arcade and kind of like shoot 'em up and stuff like that, whereas I've been more into strategy simulation. Probably not gonna invent PlayStation 5. Susan Schaffer, yes, we are sitting alone in a cab while driving a train. We do not have a co-driver. Ken Gardner, yes, Gravity is an amazing movie. Rampage since 1988. Did you start your gaming career on a Nintendo, or did you do a Commodore 64? David, my break is not before we reach all. So that's 3.5 hours of driving before I can even go to the bathroom. Susan, we used to be 2 drivers in a truck before, but as you know, having 2 drivers and one not driving, that means that you're paying someone for just sitting there, and company-wise was probably someone who thought that was a brilliant idea to save money and just remove that person. Yeah. They saved a lot of money by removing one person from duty. Welcome, POV. When cool, no, I had never been a cow sense per se, but I do like cows. I think they're awesome animals, and I do live in the countryside. Weekend tea? Yes, I have been to England on several occasions. Chickens? If I like chickens? Yeah, chickens are cool too. Hello there, McBenman. And Naomi Garza. No, I haven't received it yet. We did have some problems with the process just before the channel was reviewed. But the good news is that it is on its way, and I am definitely gonna make an unboxing video of that. Ingun? No, I have not been to Shetland yet, but that is definitely going to happen as soon as Corona is gone. Thank you, Randy. Say hello to your wife. Caleb, what I would say if we had high-speed railway, I would not oppose that. It would be pretty cool to have that, but again, it would be hilariously expensive to build in Norway. Lloyd Longsworth, if I would have continued not respecting the stop signal, Uh, the emergency brakes would have been initiated on my train if I passed the signal. The alarm would have gone off in the traffic control center, and then they would probably have cut the power so that the other train would automatically have to slow down. Yeah, so there are procedures for that as well. And I would probably not be sitting here talking to you guys today if that happened, because then I would be probably most likely under review. Holy fit. Single track railway really works really well if you have total control of the timetable, which you do not in Transport Fever 2. So that could end in complete chaos in Transport Fever 2. Human finisher, what I think about driverless trains. Yeah, I've had this discussion here on the channel several times before. Driverless trains are working on a homogeneous locked or what shall I say, locked network where every train is the same type of rolling stock. You just have one company and one traffic central and stuff like that, then it works. That's no problem. But on a railway like this, where you have several companies running, it's never going to happen. And with the Norwegian topography like this, driverless trains, not gonna happen. Because an autonomous train is basically not able to do same assessment and calculation as a human. They rely on sensors and what they can see from the sensory, but they lack the understanding of what lies ahead. Example, we can assess the weather. We're able to anticipate how the weather is going to be, how the track conditions are going to be, but a train that is automatic and driverless would just be able to see right in front of itself and what's beneath it, so it would not be able to like see shift in the weather in the mountains. Yeah, that's basically it. Chan, yeah, I was thinking about just getting a macro lens and start filming anthills. Yaosh, the maximum speed of this train is 160 kilometers per hour. Thank you so much for the super chat, Spud. And Spud, I really hope you're able to come here in 2021, so crossing fingers for that. There are a lot of people who has had to postpone their vacations several times, and in hopes that things would have returned to normal, but it seems like some countries has been opening bit too fast, and same with us. We did take the chance, started to reopen the country and opening the borders, and then we had a new surge in infections, and then we just basically had to close everything down again. So it's under control again, and now reopening has been postponed, so let's just see what the winter, fall and winter gives us, and let's hope for a reopening 21. Thank you so much for the super chat, Andy. Guys, I will be right back. I just have to refill my glass of water. And back again. Angel, I will not be able to do a live stream, and there are several reasons for that. One of them is that the Bergen line does only have 50% coverage when it comes to cellular reception, and that the data transfer for something like that on this line, it would not be sustainable. And there is also, of course, the safety aspect from it, and you have especially one really important thing, and that is liability. So if I broadcasted live on YouTube that a trespasser hit or a trespasser strike on the tracks, and yeah, that will spell the end of my career as a driver. It will spell the end of my company for liability issues when it comes to YouTube. So no, that's not gonna happen. So this is the safest and the best way to do it. It is to record it and then show it afterwards. John Gray, I am based at Voss. Dominic? Yes, that was a waterfall. Hello, hello, Alessandro. Never taken the Matterhorn train. David, what you see at Voss is the gondola and it goes up to the top of the ski resort, yes. Mariana, I have been an engineer for over 10 years. Andy Powell, no, we are running at the same speed as usual, but what you see is how it looks through a lens that has a width of 35 millimeters. And on the camera I'm using, that gives you more or less a true to eye vision of what the line really looks like. And the reason it looks slower is because of the width of the lens on the GoPro is so extremely wide that it captures more of the peripherals. So what you see here is basically exactly what we see and how we perceive speed from the cab. Of course, it will look faster for us as well if we lean over the dash and get more in the peripherals. But yeah, this is how it looks for us, and this is how sharp the curves really are. And the best thing about the 35 millimeter is that it's able to show you the gradient in a better way. I am going to invest in a really high quality glass 24 millimeter lens in the future, and the reason for that is because that the 35 millimeter doesn't capture so much of the landscape, and so I have been kind of mixing back and forth to try and find the best what's it called, sensation, the best compromise between catching as much of the scenery as possible, as well as retaining as much as the realism in front and how it looks, and I landed on 24 millimeters. So yes, it's gonna be exciting to see how that performs in the future. Thank you so much for the super chat, Sakura. Susan Schaeffer, my first time skydiving. The funny thing here is that I'm scared of heights. That makes this completely absurd, just the thought of jumping out of a plane when you're scared of heights. I have never bungee jumped before, never jumped tandem, but I've always wanted to skydive. And that is basically because in all my dreams, a lot of my dreams, I am able to fly. So yeah, and in all my weird dreams, there are a group of people who try to prevent me from flying. This is yeah, I don't know what that symbolizes or anything, but it's completely crazy. But the first skydive was really kind of intense. I was really focused on the things I needed to do to basically survive your first skydive. So before we did our first skydive, we had 2 days of ground training, a total of 10 hours of prepping and repetition, extend that everything that you were supposed to do on your first jump ended up as muscle memory. And the first jump was really intense. You are so in your kind of your own bubble that you're not able to see what's around you. And that didn't happen before jump 4, 3 and 4. That's where you able to see what's around you and see further out into the horizon. So you're kind of expanding your zone. And when that happened, I had the same feeling. I got the same feeling as the dreams when I was flying. So I knew straight from that moment that this is something I need. It's really gives you a really good feeling, and you are so focused on that 1 minute that the skydive lasts, the free fall part, and that is the only minute where you truly are in the zone. So yeah, and it's amazing. It's just amazing. Started out kind of scary, but ended up really amazing. I like that interpretation, and it would be, I think that's really accurate. I'm really a person who always work towards some sort of goal, and I kind of never give up. Yeah, it's weird. Persistent, stubborn, and really goal oriented. Andy Powell, yes, that is correct. At some point of height, you actually lose kind of the vertigo and the perception of how you perceive the ground and distance. So that's why people who are scared of heights don't kind of freak out if they are sitting in a plane. Same with skydiving. You can stand in the door and just leave the plane, knowing that you're 15,000 feet above sea level or the ground. And when you are under a parachute, you are so focused and you feel you are sitting in something that is solid. So the scare of heights never takes a hold in me. But as you, I can just climb 3 steps up a ladder and I completely freak out. And Fanman, I'm pretty sure you're gonna have a dream of flying the next time you go to bed for sleep. Part G? What do you mean about 2 rail lines? Lars Gunnar? The reason I jump out of planes is that I have a trust issue with pilots. So I do not entrust them the faith of being able to land a plane, so I just jump out beforehand and land myself. Nightflower? No, I know all the stops by heart. Arskuna, what kind of drone? Lars, I'm actually considering like 2 acre myself, but we will see. Mr. UK Sergeant, the platform you just saw outside the tunnel, that is Ustaoset. Thank you so much for the super chat, John Gray. Mariam Baduri, face reveal will not happen right now, but it might happen in the future. Rocio Varmora, no, I don't drive the same train every day. Sandberg, I like locomotives a lot more than I like EMUs. Harald Lorentzen, they have considered testing it, but no. The track is just not suitable for the flirt. Sean Chang, no, both yes and no, but for safety, just no. I would be responsible and liable if that camera came loose and hit someone or something along the track. So no, I would not be able to do that. All of it, the struts you saw was some of them are wood and others are of steel. What you saw does not keep the mountain away. It's just a snow shed. Lenorfe, we are now currently in an L18, if that's what you're referring to. Arena right now is 11:02 p.m. Sandberg, I used to live in Oslo. I now live on the countryside, and I prefer the countryside to cities. And I don't envy other countries. Mariam Baduri, no, I don't speak Romania. Okay, if you wondered what it's like to go skydiving, here is a video of skydiving. I've just posted a link in the chat, so if you want to see, then you can see it. Hello there, Manao. Thank you so much for the super chat, Steve. Chev, you should watch it. This is your conscience speaking, and we haven't spoken for a while. You should watch that video. It could be good for you. Dominic, we do have several heritage lines here in Norway. Some are narrow gauge, and we also have some normal gauge. So when it comes to normal gauge, they do have a steam train running all summer on the old Voss line around Arna, which is open for public, of course. And we do have a narrow gauge at Sørumsand on the east side of Oslo, where there is a train called Tertitten, which runs all summer as well. Raoul, no. Sorry to say this, but I don't like football at all. Holyfield, oh my gosh. GLaDOS, oh, I love Portal. Karlskrona, yes. Or basically yes and no. I went skydiving in Tønsberg at the end of the season in 2015, and since then it's basically been either Portugal, Florida, or back here at Skydive Voss. John Gray, the name of the mountain pass is Hardangervidda. Mr. UK Sergeant, yeah, that is correct. That was the snow shed that was destroyed this winter. Rahul, yeah, it's safe to drive train on snowy weather. It's safe to drive car in a snowy weather, so why not train? A train can drive in more severe weather than you can with a car. Lloyd, you are welcome. Iron Walker, yes, I will be making a new video from kind of off the rails on a motorcycle trip, so it is coming. Fandango, no, I don't have any train dreams. I tend to get them if I have been working the night shift, gone back home, and go to sleep for a couple of hours before trying to resume the day. That's usually when I have these insane sick work dreams where I wake up and I believe I have passed a signal, derailed, and a lot of things, and I'm just totally messed up. And it takes a minute or two before I realize that, hey, that didn't happen. Or did it? No, it didn't. And yeah, so it's what night shifts does to you. And crazy hours make you crazy. You're welcome, Project Serotopia. Trains to Norway. Jeg er stasjonert på Voss. Thank you so much for the soup chat, Ian Walker. Ayush, what my favorite food is? What is my favorite food? The world is has such a diversity when it comes to food, and I tend to pick a lot. Well, lately I have been craving dumplings and Chinese food. That is basically what I crave all the time. But I also love Indian food. And once went as far as ordering madras. And that was hot. That was insanely hot. But when it comes to the Indian kitchen, I must say that my favorite is chicken korma. Anna, I don't think I remember the book Little Troll. It might be something that was made in newer times. We here in Norway, we just had a lot of like folklore about trolls and gnomes and stuff like that, and yeah, those are the ones I remember the most. I like the EL18 a lot better than the EL17. I've never been certified on the 17, but the 17 is like, hello, it's old tech. Fred Lee, where I know to stop the train. I know the length of the train, so I just have to make sure that the train is within the platform. Steve? No, I did not make that myself. It was a generator, and you could customize it with brows, eyes, lips, hair, and yeah, fully customizable, and I just made that avatar. Jordan Patrick Hart? No, I have not made a website yet, but that is also in the works. So hopefully I will have a homepage soon that will gather absolutely everything. Johan Tinsche, yeah, we're now talking about a very famous part of war history. Sahil, no, the speed is changing almost all the time on this train. Thank you so much for the super chat, Sean. Stewards, it's live talking over a video because I'm not allowed to stream live from the train in real time, basically because the area we are running in now, which you see on the clip here, is completely without cell coverage. Your phone will definitely state no service. That makes it quite impossible to stream. And there is the liability issue if something happens and it's streamed live on the internet. That is something YouTube does not like very much. Mr. UK Sergeant, I like my mana black, not spoiled with milk. Robert, yes, this is an electric train. Alas, I like cows. We are now entering the longest tunnel on the Bergen line, the Finse tunnel. It's 10,600 meters long. Andy Powell, there is no rule that says that we have to drive the line speed at all time. The schedule does have some slack in it, so at some point we have to do line speed, and other places we drive like 10-15 kilometers under line speed just to not come too early to the station. And we do find a balance between everything to make it as comfortable and fluid as possible for the passengers and freight. So yeah, we usually go slightly slower than line speed, but sometimes we do have to go line speed, and typical times for that is if you are behind schedule, then you just have to maximize the potential. Mr. UK Sergeant, yep, the mana should be black as tar. Nightflower, yeah, that part is really interesting. I was just so glad that the traffic controller actually allowed me to do it, and I'd never been in that room before, and so it was a first for me, and it's probably for you guys as well. But that room is in use today. It's not abandoned. It's still in use, and they usually use it during the winter when they have to turn the snowplow. Arthur, I have no idea when they are going to fix the Streamlabs. They are working on a fix and upgrade for it, and when it will be applied, I'm not sure. That is something in the works. Hopefully sooner than later. Mr. UK Sergeant, no. No additives to coffee. Coffee should be experienced in its purest form. And that means if you are making 1 cup of coffee, you should not use more than 15 grams of coffee. And you should let it bloom for 30 seconds, not 75. Well, you can do the brew for 2 cups. That means 30 grams of coffee, then you add 75 grams of water, and you let it bloom for 30 seconds. Then you add up to 250 grams, and just wait until the timer reach 115, and then you add up to 400 grams, and you continue to 500 when it reach 45. And then you just let it flow through, and the coffee should be done when you reach approximately 3 minutes, and stretch it to 3.5, but not beyond that. Then the coffee will become sour. But yeah, that is the proper brew. Dominic, yes, it is condensation due to the immense pressure change. So what is basically happening here is that the train is moving at a certain speed. The airflow in front of the train is pushed forward, of course, and you kind of hit slightly narrowing passage in the tunnel, and there's more air getting compressed than it escapes, and then the air just condenses and are making clouds. I don't use milk in the coffee. Hallo, Ådne. Ådne, nei, jeg er ikke her. Jeg er helt borte. Arthur, I think we counted, I think it was 163 tunnels or something. Hey there, Galeni. Hey there, Robert. And hey, Paul, I do eat that brown cheese. Yes, I have actually tasted Kopi Luwak, and I must say, it didn't really taste anything special. Um, it was coffee. Um, I don't. Yeah, it basically tasted coffee. I didn't. I didn't see any reason to spend such insane amount of money for like, something an animal pooped out after digesting some coffee cherries. So yeah, the coffee had a good kind of fruity taste, but besides that, it was. And this is my feeling that it's a wow experience. Lars Gunnar, if you're brewing coffee for a larger party, yes, the Mocha Master is definitely the thing to do. Mr. UK Sergeant, no, I have not been to Lofoten yet, and I really wish I could go this year, but nah, didn't happen because everyone else was going there. My favorite coffee creamer? I don't use cream in my coffee. See you later, Arthur. Elsbrek? Yeah, I can imagine there was a lot of people up there this summer. It seemed like it was the to-go destination for all the Norwegians. Hulkmaster, yes, we have been back full-time since I think it was June. And basically it's been more than full-time. See you later, Ayush. Hey, Darby. See you later, Sakura. Drive safely. Dominic, I prefer both coast and mountains, and the good thing about Norway is that you get both mountains and coastal line at the same time. Folkmaster 3, yes, the sleeper has kind of a cabin or a room with two beds. It's basically a bunk bed. And so you can be two people sharing a cabin if you want to. So, but if you go solo, you just pay for the whole cabin and then you go to sleep. Sahil, if you subscribe to the channel and hit that notification or the bell, you will be notified when the next live will be. Nexteller, I think we need to send an email to YouTube to ask them to change it to a cowbell. Hey there, Koopa kids. Hello there, Juju. Sahil, what do you mean about poll for Q&A? Lloyd, these are mostly cabins. They are used all year round. Here in Norway, usually a cabin is inherited through the generations, so it's kept within a family, and they use it as an escape from every day. So they go up there during the weekends, and some people go to their cabins absolutely every weekend or as often as they can. Cabins in Norway are kind of a way to escape from the modern society. You go up to your cabin where you live under really simple conditions. You have a very basic toilet, probably no electricity, and you don't have water inside the cabin, so you just have to go to a nearby stream to get water and stuff like that. Yeah, it's a way to disconnect from everyday life. And they are also, of course, used during the winter, where people then go skiing during the weekends. Lee, the stations you have seen inside the mountains are just technical stations. It's just meeting points for trains. Juju, the distance between two railway stations are depends on a lot of factors. It is usually between two towns, or just they place two stations because they just need meeting points. Me, Colin? Yes, they use candlelights. And gas lamps as well. Lenny, yes. Some crazy people also like the luxury of having their cabin up to something that is even more modern than their own house or apartment. And I'm like, what is the point of that? The whole point of going to your cabin is to kind of escape your everyday life, to escape technology, to be able to disconnect from everything. Yeah, so I don't own a cabin myself. Never had something like that in our family. But I would definitely like a cabin that did not have electricity or anything like that, or cellular reception. It would be totally basic. It would be candlelights and board games all weekend. Caleb trains 22. The SR2s are just the same as the AL18. The SR2s has more powerful engines because they are basically a carbon copy of the Swiss RE460. Norway has smaller engines due to the weight. We needed to reduce the weight of the loco to be certified and allowed in Norway. But the SR2s are just the same engines, and they operate the same and they feel the same, but they are running on a more wider track gauge. But besides that, it's the same engines. And Fanman, that is so true. Me, Colin, how do you cook dinner over gas? It's the same thing. You can easily cook dinner over a fire. Koopa Kids, my favorite board game. Would you be surprised if I said I have high regards for Ticket to Ride? And I really, really love the board game Mr. X, where you have one player playing as a spy that has to reveal yourself every now and then you have other players doing absolutely everything, trying to figure out where you are on the board. Judith? Yes, I have not just run into avalanches, we were taken by an avalanche this winter. We were still on the track, nothing serious like that, but it was a really interesting situation. Thank you so much for the soup chat, Troy boy. Sean K, no. Wild animals, in this part of the country, there are, yeah, well, wild animals are more afraid of you than you are of them. So, yeah, as long as you are not a threat to them, they will do absolutely everything to stay away. Ian, it was called Haugastøl. You're welcome, Lloyd. Juju, aren't you a YouTuber? I see you here on YouTube. Sardusarf, thank you for becoming a member. Danny Haley, did you just ask a question that I didn't see? If you have a question, I would suggest you trying to tag me in it with an alpha or at and my handle, and I will see it because it will be marked in red. Danny Hurley, and then I'm really sorry I missed it, so could you please ask it again? Dominic, I would be really scared if you had minus 220 degrees in Poland during winter. Ian Walker, that is just too funny. To the guy who asked about the total length of the route, it's 473 kilometers. Peter Fowler, I think it's 130. R. Jones, I do use, you should hear that when I speak, the sound of the train kind of is reduced, and that is because I use a compressor to compress the sound and let the voice go through more easily. But yes, we in Norway do have some really rigid requirements when it comes to noise in the cabin. So we do have probably the world's most restrictive regulation when it comes to noise in cabin, and it's to be able to have our hearing working for as long as possible. They do have requirements for hearing when it comes to train drivers, and since they do have requirements for it, then they also should do absolutely everything in their power to make sure that we don't lose our hearing over time, which means that they have to soundproof the driver's cab a lot more in Norway than they do in other countries. VPR? Yes, iced coffee is good as long as it's black coffee on ice. Susan Sheffer? No, I never feel lonely in the cab, even though I sit there alone for hours and hours. This might sound kind of weird, but I am an introvert for life. People might perceive me as an extrovert, but in reality, I do need a lot of time for myself. I use a lot of energy to kind of be social. So being able to sit here in the cab alone is what I need to be able to be social after work. And so no, I don't feel lonely at all. Juju, no worries. Glenny, are they using the flirts with TextRail? That is interesting. So now California is going to use the Kiss from Stadler, which is the double-decker, and TextRail uses the Flirt. This is actually amazing. Folkmaster 3, no, it's not a new kind of train, it's just a Flirt with a new livery that we are going to have here. So all the V trains are going to be in this greenish color. Danny Haley, I think I just answered your question. I see that, Haley. Since you wrote everything in caps, it was deleted by Nightbot. Then Haley, we can drive for 5.5 consecutive hours before we are required to have at least 30 to 40 minutes off the engine, which means that we do need a place to go to. And a total day is not to be more than 10 hours. So that means that in a day you can drive for 5.5 hours, then have a 40-minute break, and then you can drive for the rest until you reach 10 hours. This can be extended if they split the day in two, and then you can do 2 parts 5.5 hours, but no more than 16-hour day. Thank you, Susan. Iglos, you have to use the horn wherever you're supposed to use the horn. Surf, the +5 and +10 is for rolling stock that is allowed to run on a higher speed. So that means that the base speed +5 or +10. This train I'm running right now and the flirts are allowed to run this overspeed or added speed, but the sleeper cars, they are not approved for higher speeds, so they have to run on the base speed. And that also means freight trains, they also have to run on the base speed. Folkmaster 3, the time this train here used between Bergen and Oslo, I think it's 6 hours and 11 minutes. Caleb, the base speed is the speed you see on the speed signs. Well, thank you, Danny. Lenny, double-deckers are possible on some parts of the Norwegian rail network, but mostly the parts where they are needed, the bridges and tunnels are too low. Judith? Yep, Lærdal is not far from here. poor pigeons. Avid, this is the evening express. So you have the morning express, then you have the day train, and then you have the evening express, and then you have the night trains on weekdays and Friday to Sunday and Sunday to Monday. So there are no a night train between Oslo and Bergen and Oslo, of course, between Saturday and Sunday. So 1, 2, 3, 4 departures between the cities. Giorgio, what game are you not playing anymore? Gary? Anna Gary? Yes, we are of course allowed to eat and drink while we are driving. Sardusarf, those are not yellow blinking lights, those are white blinking lights. And yes, when they are blinking white, that means that there's a clear line, and that also means that the gates are down. Folkmaster 3, yeah, you can easily do that, and that's what we basically do. And you can also go from Bergen to Ål and back to Voss in a day, and yeah, there are a lot of combinations you can do. Alabama, no, I have not, and that is now a different company, so if I was supposed to do that, I would have to quit my job here and apply for job up there, which is not going to happen. Blake O, both yes and no. We do have a kind of a mechanical passive tilting system, which means that it will kind of mechanically tend to lean a little bit in, but this is also helped by the embankment of the curves, which also makes things run smoother. Yeah, that is basically the standard here, but we do also have active tilting trains in Norway, which can run on much higher speed than other types of train on tracks where they have tested and proved for active tilting train speed. Husky fan in mass? No. But there are people who... The motion sickness thing is just the same with cars as it's on trains. So if someone is sitting with their back towards the traveling direction, they tend to get sick. But that that's not everyone. But the trains that make people sick are the active tilting trains. Those do make a lot of people kind of nauseous. Welcome, Blako. Lars Gunnar, yeah, smoking in the cabin has been prohibited for a lot of years. Hulkmaster 3, they have a project on electrifying the line up north, but there are a lot of things they need to prepare, like they have to change the height of bridges and a lot of other stuff, like where to get the power from, and they would have to build the power stations and yeah, there's a lot of things they have to do to make that possible. But there is a project going on to electrify the line all the way up. But at the moment, they are just looking at the part between Trondheim and Steinkjer and the Meråker line. Thank you so much for the super chat, Alan Smith. Alan, the meter for the electrical usage, we do have a meter on the train. So each locomotive here, all the rolling stock, basically with engines, does have a meter on it. So they know exactly how much power we draw at any time. And we do have a system that we as drivers can go into, and we can look at our energy consumption. So we do have kind of an incentive and a competition between us on using as little energy as possible and still maintaining the schedule and drive comfortably and just be mindful of the power usage and just try to harness all the savings we can have on the power from through the topography we are running on and how much power we are able to feed back. It's kind of a competition and a way to drive efficient. Susan Sheffer, nothing kind of inspired me to do this as a profession, but I have been living close to either a terminal or a railway track my whole life, and so I guess it was just kind of natural. I liked spending the time on the subway in Oslo when I did my homework and stuff like that, as I have always been a person who likes to be in motion. And so this line of work was just perfect. It was either this or becoming a pilot. And Fan Man, no, that was a squirrel. I have never been to Russia, but that is definitely a country I would like to visit someday. Yeah, it's a historic country, and it would be very interesting to experience the culture and see the cities. Thank you so much for the super chat, Blako. Go Brown, yes. And to say it least, we can say that the whole system for pilots is really effed up. And you see pilots being laid off in masses these days because of the plummet in flights. And yeah, it's the whole pilot business thing has not been great after 2001. That was when the whole downward spiral really started. Hulkmaster 3, it's even more than that. You use double the amount of power going from 130 to 160 kilometers per hour compared to what you use going from 0 to 130. No, sorry, you use the same amount of power going from 130 to 160 as you would do from 0 to 130. That's the correct numbers. Danny Haley, you just have 4,100 people where you live? That's a really small town. When we're talking about squirrels, have you guys seen the squirrel obstacle course made by Mark Robber? I am going to paste a link to that video, and it's Mark Robber it's just insane. It's really worth watching. It's a lengthy video, so if you want to see this stream till the end, which is pretty soon, or if not, well, here is the link. Thank you so much for the super chat, CJ. Shubham, yeah, he used to work for I think it was JPL in California. It's and he's totally amazing when it comes to all the shenanigans. He really does. And the glitter bomb, it was epic. Thank you so much for the soup chat, Joe Brown. Sure, talking Yun. Blockmaster 3, Streamlabs has been up and running all the time. It's just a minigames module that is not working properly at the moment. But they told me that they have had a lot of reports on it and that they're working on an upgrade and fix to accommodate the problems. Nikhil Chopra, yeah, I think I did that in, I think it was March. John, was it March I changed the channel name? Lenny, your geography skills are not off at all. Yes, we are in Hallingdalen right now. You're so welcome, Andy. You are welcome, Bob Anderson. Susan Schaeffer, yeah, we do have a growing number of women in our business, but it's still really male dominated. And now we are at all, and we are going to have a driver's change, and this will be the end of the part and this video. And I thank everyone for joining in today. It was really impulsive to do it on such a short notice, and I'm really glad that so many showed up. And so yes, I wish you a happy weekend, and hopefully I'll see you here again really soon. Thank you so much for super chat, Troy boy. Thank you for so much for super chat, Judith. See you all later. Thank you. Bye.